What's up everyone and welcome on back to the channel. Lilo & Stitch came out this past weekend and absolutely obliterated the box office. In a very Stitch fashion, Lilo & Stitch caused mayhem, smashing box office records this past weekend, being the highest grossing opening during Memorial Day weekend, and now Tom Cruise has a new arch enemy with Stitch. Last time Lilo & Stitch came out, Tom Cruise's Minority Report barely beat it, but now things have changed. Tom Cruise is gonna fast track that Edge of Tomorrow sequel, but this time all the aliens will be blue and speak kinda gibberish. And while Lilo & Stitch may be a big win at the box office and for Disney, it does actually create a problem for Disney that I think will hurt Disney long term. Because Disney was seemingly ramping down production and development on these live action remakes, but now Stitch may be having them think that these live action remakes will bring them right back to the top. But it won't. Lilo & Stitch is a fluke and the exception, and I'll explain why. So I wanted to break down Lilo & Stitch's box office win, how Disney will learn the wrong lessons from it, and how Lilo & Stitch is actually a trap for Disney, and what Disney should do instead. But before we get into all that, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do deep dives on the film and TV industry, break down trends, and analyze film news. So if you're into any of that, please subscribe and don't forget to like and comment as well. I know it sounds like I'm begging, and I kind of am, but it really does help push these videos out and find more people like yourself. So thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching, but let's get into it. So to understand all this, let's take a little stroll right back to March. Not that long ago. Snow White just bombed at the box office, and not because of Rachel Zegler, as some lame YouTubers will have you believe, but because it was a shit movie and you cannot rely on nostalgia. I do go into this in an earlier video if you want to check that out. And right after that happened, Disney seemed to be done with these live action remakes, announcing that they are putting the Tangled live action remake on hold indefinitely. Say what you will about Rachel Zegler, but maybe her deeper motivation for taking Snow White was actually stopping these live action remakes from happening ever again. And it did work out. Until now. So they seem to be reevaluating this live action remake strategy. The past few years have been very hard for Disney, with The Little Mermaid costing $240 million and only making $569 million worldwide. But it did give us the hardest rap song ever made. Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wah, chicka, wah, wah, chicka, wah. And while they did have Mufasa, which did okay at the box office and did have legs, making $700 million worldwide, it still did half of what The Lion King did back in 2019. But now with Lilo & Stitch being such a clear win at the box office, I'm sure Disney is going to rethink putting all of these live action remakes on ice, and I believe that they will actually ramp back up production and development on all of these live action remakes again because of just how great Lilo & Stitch did at the box office. But Lilo & Stitch, in my opinion, is a fluke. It was always going to do well at the box office, and here's why. Lilo & Stitch did okay at the box office when it came out initially. It made $273 million worldwide, spawned a TV show, multiple straight-to-DVD sequels, and reworked the entire movie so it didn't look like Stitch pulled a 9/11. Aloha! So are all of those spin-offs and DVD sequels the reason why the live-action Lilo & Stitch did so well? No, not at all. You can't rely on nostalgia, as we've seen with these past remakes, but you can rely on merchandise sales. Lilo & Stitch's merchandise sales were $200 million back in 2019. Quite an insane figure, but minuscule compared to what it does today. The Wall Street Journal reported that Lilo & Stitch's merchandise has grown to $2.6 billion in their 2024 fiscal year, making Lilo & Stitch one of Disney's top 10 highest grossing franchises. Do you know how many Stitch plushies that is? That is about 130 million, assuming they're around $20 each. I did the math on this, and I can't blame people. They are cute. Don't forget t-shirt sales too. I was gonna wear this, but it's looking so yellow that I was like, okay, I think I need to retire this shirt forever. Like, look at this. It's so, oh. This movie was always going to do numbers at the box office, whether it was good or not. And because they weren't just relying on nostalgia for this, they were actually following the data, it worked out. But I guarantee you that no one was lining up like this to get a grumpy plushie. And viewership of the entire Lilo & Stitch franchise has gone up significantly every single year on Disney+. Lilo & Stitch is an anomaly, and it should be treated as such. They shouldn't just hop right back into these live action remakes, but my guess is that Disney probably will, because they probably have another win just around the corner. The live action Moana movie is already underway and has finished production, and my guess is that movie will be complete shit, but it will still clean up at the box office. Especially with Moana 2 destroying the box office and giving us those amazing song hits that rival the first Moana, like... Does anyone remember them? I can't remember how a single song went, but according to the songwriters, we were all supposed to be singing these songs in just a couple of months. So they're going to be coming up on a pattern. They're going to have 2 wins in a row, re-course correct, and send themselves right back to short-term success that will likely lead them to long-term failure. Historically, these remakes don't do that well. Even back when they were hitting $1 billion, there were still a few major bombs in there, like Alice Through the Looking Glass and Dumbo. These live action remakes were mostly doing okay, but now they have run out of their biggest hits and are scraping the bottom of the IP barrel. Even Lilo and Stitch was supposed to go straight to Disney Plus and not be theatrical. They initially did not have that much faith in it and thought this was a lesser IP. They were looking towards movies that don't even have a huge following, like the Aristocats and Robin Hood, which is just Robin Hood, but with the fox. Like, I don't think we need to spend $200 million creating a photorealistic fox for a story that we seem to be getting every 5 years. Why do we have so many Robin Hoods? But I have a feeling that these 2 wins will make Disney forget about those bombs and head right back to where they are now. Disney is already likely planning multiple sequels to Lilo and Stitch and will likely kickstart and fast track their live action remake film department again. There hasn't been much news on a lot of these live action remakes, like Hercules, which is supposed to be directed by Guy Ritchie and produced by the Russo brothers, not like they have 2 major films that they're doing right now, or the Hunchback of Notre Dame that was reported in 2023 that it has been stalled. I have a feeling that in the next 6 months, all of these past stalled projects will be reignited, or they will have new directors announced and they will be fast-tracked into production. And unlike Lilo and Stitch, these movies will likely have price tags of $150 to $200 million, because I doubt you can make a CGI remake of Bambi with only $100 million. So that is what Disney is going to do, at least in my opinion, but that is not what they should do. These live action remakes are a time bomb. They are rapidly running out of things to remake, and they are not always reliable. But the success of Lilo and Stitch has at least bought them some time. So with the time that they have left, they need to absolutely figure out how to make live action movies again and not just remakes. Now, they can still be centered around Disney IP. Pirates of the Caribbean was massive and it was based off of a ride. Maybe just don't do the exact same plot again like they did with Jungle Cruise. We already had that once and then they tried it again and that's what we got. Or they can try to do original movies and start training their audiences now to watch original Disney movies. My guess is they will likely do the latter of the live action movies that are directly tied to their brand. I don't like it, but I do get it. My guess is Freakier Friday is really going to be a big test for Disney and kickstart their next wave of their live action strategy, if it works out. If Freakier Friday succeeds, my guess is that they will look at other live action movies that they can reboot or make legacy sequels to, which they are already kind of doing with The Princess Diaries 3, but if Freakier Friday is massively successful, just as successful as Lilo and Stitch, they will likely ramp up and make a lot more of these legacy sequels of their older properties. But that in itself is a short-term solution, because as we've seen with these live action remakes, nostalgia only works for so long, and it may put them right back to where they once were. If Disney wants to start getting people back on board, they really need to start training their audiences now to start showing up to these movies just because they're Disney movies and rebuilding their entire brand around that. In the same way that people used to show up just to watch Marvel movies just because it's Marvel, or very weird comparison, but you know how people will show up to watch A24 movies just because they're A24, Disney needs to do that. Disney needs to train and build an audience that will watch an original Disney live action movie just because it's Disney. People used to do that back in the day. They still kind of have it with animation, except for Wish. No one watched that. I did. And they likely have it with Pixar. They have done it before, they just need to rediscover that magic that they used to have and give it another spark. Another thing I think they should look at is the budget of Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch's budget is insanely low when you compare it to the other live action remakes, clocking in at $100 million. If Lilo and Stitch's budget was anything like that of Snow White or Mufasa, this opening wouldn't necessarily be a straight up win, since we don't know the full marketing budget and we don't know if this film will have legs. But because its budget was mid-size, even though it was on the bigger end, the risk of making a profit was so much less. Disney should learn from this and not have their live action films balloon to $270 million and instead develop projects that are around 40 to 100 million. Disney needs to realize that these live action remakes are not the way forward, even though they may have a hit every now and then. But if they want long-term success, they really need to pivot. Lilo and Stitch is a great success and they should celebrate that success. But if they don't want to be exactly where they are today in 5 years, where they have these risky bombs and lifeless remakes, they need to understand that this is a fluke and things have changed. They have an opportunity to change things up, and if they don't take it, they'll likely end up right where they are now. This is a moment where history could actually repeat itself. After the original Lilo and Stitch came out, Disney went through a dark period, not having any successful movies until a major change-up happened in 2007. They have an opportunity to change things, but will they take it? Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. I truly do appreciate it. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.